The moment I stepped into 8th year all the way to my final year, we've had various labs, not just scholastical but also practical. We've had labs spanning from analysis, modeling and design all the way to biomechanical engineering. At 8th year, the professors not just teach you academically but also draw parallelism to the real world market and make you industry ready.
The department also organizes conferences and workshops for professional interaction to provide best placement and internship opportunities.
Academy, located in the midst of all IT activities at Marathahalli, Bangalore, was founded in the year 1983 by Dr. K.C. Samuel. His passion for aviation and teaching made him start the first private flying school in India and set up the Aircraft Engineering Center, specializing in aviation electronics or avionics as per ICAO standards. In the past 3 decades since its inception, the Academy has pushed all boundaries to achieve academic excellence and become a one-stop destination for all careers related to the field of aviation, engineering, and management. We welcome you to become a part of a 36-year legacy and fly high with careers in aviation, engineering, and management.
Sangam Group of Institutions, Kanakpura Road, Bangalore. Admissions open for Bachelor of Engineering in Artificial Intelligence and Data Science, Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning, Computer Science and Design, CSE, ECE, Mechanical, Civil, Bachelor of Architecture, MBA. 3 years of Diploma. Call 9606064186 or 187 or 188.
Shaheen Group of Institutions, one of the leading and premier abodes of learning in India. Nestled in a picturesque locale of Bidar, a hilltop city in northeastern part of Karnataka. Shaheen evoked by the visionary icon and chairman Dr. Abdul Qadir back in 1989. Now it's a major hub of academic excellence, touching the lives of more than 16,000 students across the world.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the final day of the Hindu Education Plus Career Counseling Digital Conclave. I'm Anuja Ganesh from the Hindu group and I'll be moderating this session. Thanks to the participants who are in this webinar series. Thanks to the sponsors for making this possible. Our gold sponsors are AMC Education Institutions, Atria Institute of Technology, Insight IAS Bengaluru, and our silver sponsors are Sir M. Vishweshwaraya Institute of Engineering, Hindustan Business School, KS Group of Institutions, Shaheen Group of Institutions, Bidar, Rajarajeshwari Group of Institutions, Ramaya University, Bengaluru. Today we will begin our session on series on in sciences, career in sciences, and we have with us Mr. Satyajit Mayer and Ms. Smita Jain. Welcome, sir. Welcome, ma'am.
Hi.
Thank you.
Mr. Satyajit Mayer is a cell biologist and director of the National Center for Biological Sciences, Bengaluru. He is also the chairperson of the Bengaluru Life Sciences Cluster. Mr. Mayer studied chemistry at IIT Mumbai and was awarded PhD in Life Sciences from the Rockefeller University, New York. He started his laboratory in 1995, right after the completion of his postdoctoral research at Columbia University. Mr. Mayer is a recipient of several national and international awards and fellowships. He was conferred National Order of Merit France in 2016. And Ms. Smita Jain. She has been a leader with 15 years experience in science administrator and management, communication and business development. Ms. Smita has a PhD degree from the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. She has a history of working in the biotechnology industry and academy, and it's experienced in building communities and networks across Indian academy. Currently, Ms. Smita is working at Cactus Communications Private Limited as Associate Director, Academia and Government Relations towards building the Indian market. She has strong network of varied stakeholders. She is passionate about careers in science, mentoring, and developing courses for professional development. She has given numerous talks on careers in sciences across the country. She strongly believes in equality and inclusiveness. She was a recipient of IRMI, Research Management Grant of India Alliance. She is also a member of the review group for the programs and activities of NCSTC, DST, GOL, and she is a simple person at heart who loves nature, books, and travel. I believe nature is a weakness. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us. Mr. Satyajit, Mayor.
Yeah.
Over to you, sir.
Thank you. So good afternoon, Anuja, and all those on the web link. Just a minute, please. I'll just.
Jitu, can you see the slides? Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
I just wanted to check.
I can. Sorry, I just needed to get a glass of water.
Okay, sure.
I can see the slides. Thanks, Smita.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So, I would like to welcome all of you to this session on careers in science. I thought it would be most appropriate that we also bring Dr. Smita Jain to the discussion. I mean, one, because she does represent the other half of the human species that are present today. Dr. Smita Jain, actually, as Anuja introduced, is perhaps one of our real experts in providing us guidance on careers in science. In fact, she has taken on so many different things, so many different aspects of looking at science and coming through deep science, and then in fact branching out in different areas that I think her own journey will be an example. So I just thought it would be really wonderful to have her here, and I'm grateful for her to have accepted my invitation to join me in this career counseling session.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks, Smita. Now let's begin the presentation. I'm currently, as Anuja mentioned, working at the Bangalore Life Science Cluster, which is a research, education, translation, innovation, and outreach hub in north of Bangalore. We are 3 institutions: the National Center for Biological Science, of which I'm the current director, and the Institute for Stem Cell and Regenerative Medicine, and Center for Cell and Molecular Platforms, a technology and innovation hub. Smita, can we have the next slide, please? Yeah, so let me just start by providing some of you what I think science is about, and this is the characteristics of any science, especially of the natural sciences, mathematics, or the life sciences. Science, like art, is at the pinnacle of human creativity, and I think very few of us would be able to deny this unless we didn't believe in the fact that science, informs our life every day. Science is also a way of thinking, a way of questioning in a constructive way, and also of never expecting or accepting dogma in any form. It's also a way of expressing one's own contrarian views in a manner that is derived from scientific method and reasoning. It is naturally interdisciplinary, and I think this is something I feel that we should understand today, what the nature of science is, because it has dramatically changed from the science the kind of science that, say, students are exposed to in sort of the domains of physics, chemistry, mathematics, life sciences as sort of independent silos. Science can take on challenges, for example, space exploration, which is a very exciting challenge, or to deal with the energy crisis, or address the scourges of our time like cancer, climate change, and even COVID that we are facing today. In fact, science has and will always address societal problems that are at hand. And in fact, sometimes science is part of the problem, but often science becomes also part of the solution. And so these are the kind of science that I would describe as sort of mission-based science activities. And then finally, of course, where I think the creativity is unleashed in its sort of raw form is where science is involved in fundamental discovery of really bringing new knowledge that could not and would not have existed before without bringing our mind to thinking about certain problems, or even certain not even problem, but even certain abstract ideas. Now, the next slide, please, Smita. Next slide. Yeah, thanks. So science, as I said, permeates all aspects of our life. With science as a, let's say, as a mode of instruction that one engages in after your high school, you can engage in multiple disciplines. I mean, there is no limit, but I'm just pointing out a few. Science can, of course, give rise to what I dearly love, which is research, and education and teaching. I mean, science, if you're a scientist, these are the two obvious streams that are available to you. Derive new technology, and of course, innovation and entrepreneurship is another avenue for a scientist. But I think more importantly, as we are beginning to recognize, and I think as what Smita will tell us about, the other science, there's a whole other aspect to being educated in science, and that is bringing our tools of science, our understanding and our knowledge that we have of science, to policy, to administration, to law, to so many other professions. Well, of course, I place all the engineering and all the engineering sciences within the technology and innovation bubble. So science does, of course, inform those aspects too, and medicine would be another area. But science is sort of in some ways a step before engineering and medicine, which are more about applications of science. But science directly applies to these aspects. Now, the next slide, please, Smita. Yeah, so I should say that, India as an independent country now in its 75th year has, as Jawaharlal Nehru described, the emphasis of modern India was to build temples of our modern India. And I think these temples of modern India have provided India a very strong and solid foundation in science. Public sector units, scientific institutions such as the Indian Institute of Science, not the Indian Institute of Science, the Indian Institute of Science was created before the Indian independence, and as was the Tata Institute for Fundamental Research. But all the IITs that today we so admire and tout as one of our big achievements were created at the time when India was thought of as a modern state and not as a colonial state. So science has been at the core of India's achievements, if you will. Now the next slide, please. And so I'm going to say that the value of science is indeed to create an endless frontier. It is evident that society is willing to pay much more for curiosity-driven research in science than for the analogous thought and beauty-driven practices of the art and humanities. It is easy to guess the link And this is something that I should remind our young listeners that the link, sometimes subtle, but repeatedly established over time, between investment in basic research and the connection to macroeconomic growth is inescapable. In fact, it is literally scientific discovery that leads to technology invention, which lead to new products, jobs, and industries. And I think this is something that our policymakers do recognize, but sometimes are often not don't keep this in the front of their mind at all times. And I think, may I have the next slide, please? So I think if you just, yeah, that's good. Yeah, thanks. So if this is a plot, if you will, of some of the research and development as a fraction of the gross domestic product of a country on the bottom, on the x-axis. And on the y-axis is the number of scientists and engineers per million people. So if you look at this curve or this plot, what you will see is that some of the most advanced, and this plot is from 2013, some of the most well-developed advanced countries in the world are all high up in the sort of top right part of this graph, where you have very high investment in R&D and very high numbers of scientists and engineers per million people. And it's no coincidence that these are some of the most well-endowed countries as well. Even countries that have had very relatively recent success, that of South Korea, Taiwan, that have not been colonial powers, are in that region. Whereas the countries like ours, India, are right at the bottom of this. And I think this is something that our policymakers and our politicians would be well advised to look at, because unless we invest in science and people, scientists and engineers, we are not going to be able to get into that bracket where our country is going to be prosperous because of its own steam. Now the next slide, please. Yeah, so as a biologist, let me just tell you something about which I think is the most crucial change that we are seeing in the sciences, that of its interdisciplinarity. As a biologist, interested in questions around how cells function, every aspect of the sciences today informs what I do. Whether it's mathematics, computer science, physics and chemistry, material sciences, electrical engineering, civil engineering, or mechanical engineering, all of these disciplines inform the kind of science that I'm engaged in biology. So even if you choose to become a mechanical engineer today, or a civil engineer, or a computer scientist, or do physics, chemistry, mathematics, but even biology, you can study biology tomorrow. And our fields, and most of our fields, are revolutionized by this whole idea of data science. And big data is, of course, going to be analyzed and crunched through all our AI engines as of today. And this is evident. This is how science functions. And as young people who are just embarking out, this is the most exciting time to be doing science, because all avenues of opening your mind are open to you today. Have the next slide, please. I'll just give you a small example. I think there's a little video that will play, Smita, if you just put it on. Just shut the shut the sound on the video if you don't mind. Yeah. Or if you just go to the next slide, it'll start playing. Yeah. Yeah. So sorry. Yeah. Okay, never mind. Let me just explain this to you. There is a cell here, which is a cell from your blood, a macrophage cell or a neutrophil, which is going after a little piece of bacterium that is on the left side of the cell. And this cell is swimming with all the red blood cells in your blood. And how this works and how this functions is really a fundamentally important question. Of course, as you know today, from all the pandemic that's surrounding us, COVID-19 is also a little virus that is attacking cells at all times. And this entire process of understanding how this works is today available for us to see physically because we have new tools and technologies that can explore these questions from all the different disciplines of science available to us today. So with that, I'm just going to sort of conclude my part and point you to this program that we set up at our Bangalore Life Science Cluster, headed by the National Center for Biological Science, which is India Bioscience. It's an agency that Smita drove for over 5 years, and she, as we'll hear from her, has been able to think about the way science as a career is able to provide, if a really bright and brilliant future for students, educators, researchers, and other science professionals in multiple dimensions, and not just in the dimensions of curiosity-driven research that I sort of rebel in and sort of sometimes find myself difficult to move out of. So Smita, over to you.
Thank you, Jitu. Thanks so much for giving the whole context, giving the whole background of why science is so beautiful and what is the importance of science in our lives today. So moving on, I guess what I'm going to do is slightly different. I'm going to share with all of you part of my journey, part of things that have become very, very critical and important in today's world when you are, embarking on this beautiful journey ahead post your foundations laid in the school. So with these 3 C's, confidence, courage, and careers is what I have named the discussion that we are going to have today. Okay, so before we start, I guess I'm going to give you a very interesting story. And again, this story draws parallels from what Jitu just mentioned about, the whole endeavor, whole ecosystem, which is driven by curiosity. So this is basically story of a cow who climbed a tree. And now you would wonder how a cow can climb a tree, right? But this particular cow was extremely, extremely curious, very inquisitive, interested in doing multiple different new things, and had multiple ideas churning in the brain. And obviously, the family was very unhappy with all the kinds of adventures the cow would keep doing, and they would always ask her to stop. But this particular cow would not stop. And one particular day, it just moved out of the house, and the sisters went looking around that where did the cow disappear? And they find out that this cow is actually flying in the sky, because the previous day she tried this new adventure of hers, went up a tree, found a dino sitting on the tree who happened to be a great, interesting dinosaur, unlike what we see in the movies. And they became great friends, and the dino taught her how to fly. So here she was on a new adventure, enjoying life. And when finally the family saw what she's doing, she's very happy. They all finally believed in the curious mind, that in the curiosity that she had. And then there was no stopping. So this very short story is, all it tells us that nothing is impossible if you really want to do something. So let's begin. I guess what I'm going to do today is just give you all, because we all are in this career counseling session, and it's very important to understand the very term, what career, that what it means. I'll touch upon my own journey and some key tools needed to craft the career journey. And I guess this is the aspect of key tools is something which is extremely, extremely important as we go along this particular journey. And definitely we'll touch upon all the diverse opportunities, as Jitu mentioned, that exist even post our degree in science. Okay, now, what is the difference between career and a job? I wish this was an in-person session where we can ask questions directly, but regardless, I guess what I'm going to tell you is something very, very simple, very basic. A career is an individual's long-term professional journey, which entails loads of learning throughout this whole process, loads of hard work and lots of passion. And that is what makes this journey very, very happy. And you derive more and more motivation to continue with your endeavor, whatever you have chosen to. And that's career. It's not just one job. And that's where the difference lies. The job is something that you do in order to support all your basic needs. Most of the time, motivation and happiness factors are what is missing when you're just doing a job, versus when you actually embark on a journey that becomes your career path. Okay, again, another very important thing to keep in mind is that your career is your responsibility. And this is something I'm telling to all the students who are out there, that it's not the responsibility of your parents, not the teachers, not your peers, but yours. They all are there to assist you, help you, guide you in this journey. But the responsibility lies with you. Okay, so far, I guess the mindset was that career paths are all set in stone. We decide on this particular path and we just keep moving linearly. But is that correct in today's world? Does this still hold true is a question, and we would deep dive into that. When we see, usually when society sees that you're taking up basic sciences, what comes in mind is this particular ladder, that you would do your graduation, your post-graduation. Many would go on to do a PhD, maybe a postdoc, and then become a researcher. This is the very set path that exists. Absolutely nothing wrong in it. This is the path if you want to get into a career path like Jitu has very successfully embarked upon. But is this the only path in today's world? What we see is that the career progressions have changed drastically. If you see on the right, there are people who are just climbing their own ladder. There's no competition. They have carved their own paths, and you have multiple examples of such people. On the other side, you see ladders which are going up, down, and there are a lot of crisscross that's happening. What it means is that there are possibilities of lots of crosstalks as you move forward. There are possibilities of changing paths or carving your own path, your own way. Okay, so with that basic pointer about what a career is and what it looks like in today's world, I'll quickly touch upon my own journey. So I started my schooling or my life, I can say, from a place called Banaras in Uttar Pradesh. So I was very interested from my very childhood because of the teachers, because of my father. I got interested in science because there were questions all around. There was curiosity all around. There were people to answer these questions that were always churning in the brain. So gradually, I developed more interest in biology, and definitely passion and hard work was something that was instilled both at school and at home. So with that, I embarked upon my foundation journey. So as I said, and here I'm going to tell you some omissions that I did as I moved along. So I was one of the toppers of the school. I'm not boasting about myself, but just giving a context. So the very obvious choice post class 10th was, write medicine, write the entrance test for medicine. And my argument was that I can't stand a hospital setting, so I can never be a good doctor. There was a lot of uproar in the school. My dad was called. Discussion happened, but I was very clear that medicine is not the path I can take just because maybe I'm one of the meritorious students. I moved on. I took undergrad course at Banaras Hindu University, found some really amazing, motivating teachers, went on to do my master's in Baroda in biotechnology. Again, learned loads of things because of the very nature of that course, the curriculum that were posed to us. That was very rigorous course, a lot of teamwork, a lot of multitasking that we had to do. But let me tell you something. I guess till that point, I was at least not knowing that I'm learning these skills. But yes, alongside this foundation that was being laid, I was learning a lot of these skill sets, which I became aware much later. But I've put it here just for the understanding that as we move along, there are a lot of skill sets that we keep acquiring that is extremely important when it comes to your career at a later time point. I wanted to do PhD because that was, again, one of my dreams, and that too, to do PhD from IIC. So I joined a lab and did my PhD dissertation in the field of cancer biology. Again, learned lot of amazing things during my tenure at IIC. But post my PhD, I was also clear that maybe research is not for me. And that was a big question at that point, whether I should go for a postdoc or not, because again, that was the trend that everyone who would finish PhD would go for a postdoc. But the argument that was going in my mind was, if I don't want to become a researcher, should I really go for a postdoc? So this was a big question, and I was at that crossroad. So what I did not go for my postdoc. And I thought, let me continue, and I'll figure out what I want to do. So I worked in industry for about 3 years. And in those 3 years, it became completely firm in my mind that wet lab or research work is not for a personality like me. And that's when I joined CCAMP as their business development and project management personnel, moved against worked there for about 5 long years. And I really realized that this is the area where I would want to grow. Science administration management is something that really excites me, motivates me, and I would want to build a career there. Worked at CCAM for 5 years, moved on to India Bioscience. Again, next 5.5 years, I was with India Bioscience. Very interesting stint, lots of learnings at each of these junctures, I would say. So as I said, the careers have changed. You keep learning as you move along. And very recently, just 2 months back, I've moved to Cactus. Again, switching slight gears, but going to be working in close proximity with the scientific ecosystem. So this is my journey, and as you see, the point I want to emphasize through this particular slide, I guess this is a little older slide. I have not added the next move to Cactus, but what I really want to emphasize from this particular slide is that coming from a place in Banaras where, let's say, English was never at the foreground. We never conversed in English. I didn't know how to speak in English till my class 12th, honestly speaking. But I guess what I knew was, what I had with me was belief in myself. And that is what is very important. Being a woman in science, again, has not been something very easy. You don't have enough role models ahead of you. So when you're carving your own path, you have to have very strong self-belief that, yes, you will do it and you can do it. So that's why I thought I'll put the slide up here. Okay, another very critical thing throughout my journey that I've shown so far has been, again, this is coming from my foundation or my learning in sciences, that I always ask this question, why? Before every move, I always had this question that why? What is the purpose of doing whatever I plan to do? So this self-contemplation has always helped me stay on the track that I wanted to, or for that matter, anyone. This is precisely the reason why I'm showing that always keep this question of why. You would automatically understand how and what. But the very important thing is the question why. What is the purpose of doing what you're going to do? Okay, again, switching gears here. Next few slides are going to be about career planning. How do you plan? And initial few things, I guess I'm going to go a little quick because of the time issue. So what is very important is that you know yourself. You understand what your skills are, what your interests are. Interests are, again, some things which helps you stay motivated in whatever you are doing, what your values are, things that give you purpose in doing whatever you wish to do. So it's very important. Again, there are lots of tools available online that helps you do this self-analysis, which helps you align with possible career paths. But it's important that each one of you do as you go along, and understand yourself. Very important to explore your options. So as you would move along, let's say from school to college, you would also do a lot of, sorry, I guess some of the text has gone off. But what I really want to show by this slide is that you explore your options, basically either through internet, that's always there, but also by talking to people who have gone into these various different career paths. And this is called informational interview. You really get a lot of insights about diverse career paths, what it takes to get into those paths, what skill sets are needed, what are the joys, the sorrows of those paths, and things like that. So very important that you do this informational interview as you move along this journey. And definitely internships and volunteering activities, again, throughout your foundational years and even later, really help to understand the ecosystem much better. Why? So good. So you know yourself, you explore your options, you make your decisions that, okay, this is how I'm moving forward. And then you take that next leap and actually start on your career journey. And here I would really like to emphasize few very important points, especially in today's world, which is extremely competitive. Nothing to scare you, but this slide, I really feel helps each one of us to stay ahead in the game. As I said, it's a very competitive field out there. And what I've laid out here are certain things that you have to keep in mind, that as you move along from school to college to actually starting your career, you gradually need to build your network, not just your network within the sphere of your area of interest, but a wider network. You really need to know how to put your skill sets and who you are, what you want to do in this piece of paper, which we call CV or resume. Again, it will take time to build these, but keep in mind that these are some very critical and important tools when you're crafting your career. Any interview that you face, any interview in your life, it can be your internal school interviews or practical vivas or even later. Take each and every interview very seriously, prepare well for that. Also, learn the art of giving an giving an elevator pitch. And something very interesting to know early on, I didn't know this term elevator pitch till like long. Maybe it was only when I was at C Camp or India Bioscience that I learned this term called elevator pitch. It's a pitch that you give to another person so that this another person knows you, that who you are, what you want to do, why you want to do in those 30 seconds, let's say, that you get in an elevator, right? So it's a very short, crisp, concise pitch. And at every stage, you must know what you need to say out so that the other person understands who you are, what you are, and why you want to do certain thing. And it's called an elevator pitch. And definitely have mentors who are always there to show you the right path. So I'm not getting into the details of any one of these, but there's a lot of information out there on internet that you can read and understand each of these much better. Moving on, some of the diverse career paths. So as I said in the very beginning that, when we take basic sciences as something that we wish to, it's not that it only leads to one or two certain specific career paths. No, there are a lot of opportunities that exist in today's world. Definitely being a researcher, making discoveries, or becoming an educator who imparts knowledge to the next generation is something which is very well known, which is the careers which are of high regards. But other than these, again, as I've listed down here, there are a whole lot of career paths that a student who has studied basic sciences and has flair and the required skill sets and the mindset to move into all these career paths that I've listed out here. I'm happy to take questions. Again, I'll not get into the details of any of these, but I will share a few links where you can find more details of each of these career paths. Okay, so with that, all I would like to say is have the courage and have this confidence to take any path that gives you success and happiness, that helps you stay connected well with yourself. Because you have the key. Once you have the right degrees in hand, that would be the key that will help you unlock all these unknown career paths. Okay, so some of the key takeaways from this is something I have learned, I have implemented in my own path so far, is be clear of what you do not want. Even if you do not know what you want, it will come. All you need is patience, hard work, and perseverance. The right path is something you will reach. But if you're clear that there are certain things you don't want to do, don't get onto those paths. Again, degree in science is a very, very powerful tool. As I showed, it really imparts us with lots of different skill sets, amazing mindset. So, and that helps us open multiple avenues. So craft your career very, very carefully. Even after all this, you will always have crossroads ahead of you as you move along. Don't get deterred by those crossroads. Just take a pause, think, align, and then move forward. Be open to opportunities that come your way, and always be confident and courageous. I would say even to take risk, never be afraid. Okay, these are some of the resources. Again, there are a whole lot of resources out there on internet, but I'm sharing some of the resources that we built at India Bioscience. These may sound a little more geared towards students from life sciences, but as again Jitu mentioned, it's not that it's again confined to one particular domain. The very essence of all these different resources, be it the podcast called India Bio Speaks, be it the webinar recordings that are up on the India Bioscience website, be it the books, especially the book called Disha. It's very amazing. Maybe it's again more restricted to life science careers, but it will give a very beautiful overview of how one craft their career paths. This is the website. I would request each one of you to go on the website, go to the resource page, and download these or watch these or listen to these resources. They all are available for free, and I'm very sure that you would gain a lot from these resources. So, as I said, the life throws at us lots and lots of colors. It's all in our hands that how do we paint this canvas of life and our career. It's all in your hands. So with that, I wish all of you a very, very successful career ahead. And I'm sure that if you just keep these few things in mind, have few of these traits, you will really have a very successful, a very happy, and a content career ahead. So with that, thank you. And before I end, I guess there are a few things which I also touched upon, and in fact, Jitu also touched upon. And I would really like to request Jitu to also talk about his own career trajectory from his foundation years, because I personally feel that's very motivating and that's very inspiring. So Jitu, over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Smita. But let me check with Anuja whether we have time for this, or should we take questions?
Yes, you can have 5 minutes. Then we'll start with the Q&A session at 12:45.
Okay, great. All right, thanks, Smita. This was really very inspiring, your presentation. So, I just wanted to say that while I'm today, just the most passionate and excited about what I do as a scientist, it did not start like this. I was actually incredibly passionate, like any young person, but this is a very long time ago, about cricket, and was so keen that nothing else was on my horizon at that time except wanting to play cricket. But I knew I was a reader, and I really was interested and deeply involved in science. So I had to sort of decide whether I was going to pursue one or the other. I decided to pursue both. And because I was fortunate enough to get into one of these IITs, in fact, IIT Bombay at that time, where we had a very, very good cricket team, and also ended up playing with the University of Bombay, where likes of Ravi Shastri and all were our contemporaries and also our opponents. And we managed to beat them in one game, in fact. But then, when I went to IIT, I actually was slotted into an engineering stream because I had a very high rank, and doing science was not the most sought after activity at the IITs. I think it's unfortunate that that impression is generated, but it was not. And I started out as a mechanical engineer, and then very soon realized that, as Smita said, you need to figure out what is it that you don't want to do. And I figured out that I didn't want to do engineering, but at the IITs, what else could I do? And, by which time, I must say my passion for biology, which had already been kindled in school, my passion for science in school was actually about biology. And this rekindled passion at IIT led me to sort of go to the chemistry department at IIT, where chemistry had a few people who had some knowledge of the biological sciences. In fact, there were some very inspirational professors who said I could look at biology through chemistry. From the chemistry, I sort of went and actually did a PhD in the life sciences. Each time I was questioning what was going to be my next step. And I used this filter that, that Smita mentioned, what was it that I would not want to do? Would I not want to pursue a door that is opened up for me, or would I and go into something that is sort of easily available? For example, after finishing my IIT, I could have gone off and done an MBA or something, which would not have been a problem because most of my colleagues and friends were doing that. But I decided to go and do a PhD in life sciences and went off to do a PhD and then a postdoc. And all this while I was in America for about 10 years, and then decided that I needed to figure out whether I was going to continue my career in science or not. I chose science because simply that was by then becoming the most exciting thing to do for me. And I decided to come back to work in India in 1995, took up a job at the TIFR, which had opened a new center in Bangalore. All this was sort of really new and adventurous. And have next slide, please. Just next, I think, go to the next. Yeah. Okay. And then I met many, many, many really wonderful people. And I think this is the journey of a scientist is about colleagues and collaborations. I met Ubaid Siddiqui, who actually was the founder of our institute, and then Vijay Raghavan, who today is the scientific advisor to our country. Most inspiring was Professor Krishnan, a naturalist, a namesake of mine who taught me about immunology. A really huge inspiration of mine was Veronica, who is a Drosophila biologist. I mean, without her, we would not be an institute of any repute in Bangalore. I mean, her vision and her real understanding of how you could create an exciting place to do science influenced many, many of us. And then I met a physicist, a soft matter physicist, Madan Rao. So I'm just saying it's people who you encounter who with names and faces that also change the way you think, and you'd be open to people influencing you. Next slide, please. Yeah, but I know what I'm going to do is not going to end like this. No, previous, please. It will not end like this. New decisions will come. Previous, please. I'm just going to stop here with saying that science is about doing a career, and especially one in science, is about making choices. It is about being able to keep yourself open for serendipity. It is about the ways of seeing and following your nose. And I want to emphasize one more thing, that as scientists, we are a global community. And I think, to me, that is the most valuable thing that one appreciates about science. You can travel the world, meet people, even today. Now it's the virtual world, but still, it is a global community. And I think that's the way, I would like it to be. Thank you. I'm going to stop here.
Thank you, Jitu, for that note. That's actually very inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am, for your inspiring students and giving them courage to and confidence and to think out of the box. Thank you so much. Shall we move to the Q&A, ma'am, sir?
Please.
Yeah.
I've tried to answer a few. I don't know how.
Oh,
yeah.
One moment.
But there are many more. Yeah.
Yes.
So please,
yes.
please moderate. Yes.
One moment.
How would you like to do this?
Yeah, I'll ask the question and you can reply, either
Please.
you, sir, or ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. This is one of the questions. Is there any scope for microbiology in India? If so, can you suggest some universities which focuses on microbiology?
I mean, given the pandemic, it is really the science of microbiology that has allowed us to, look at the pandemic and find solutions for it. I have no doubt that microbiology has huge scope. I mean, given our engagement with the world at large about the interactions that humans have had with our natural habitats and the encroachment on our natural habitats, we are going to see many, many more problems that emerge from the natural habitat that's going to influence us. And these are going to be of the unknown microbe domain. So microbiology, I think, has a huge future, unfortunately. But it is something that we should be taking very seriously. Almost any university has good programs in microbiology, but today's microbiology and the way we study it, the way we need to study it, has changed dramatically. So one needs to be aware of what programs universities have. If people would like to pose questions, both Smita and I would be happy to answer them offline.
Okay. We should do that. The next question is, would it be wise to follow a job in education and teaching, as it might see a decline in coming years because of AI, artificial intelligence? I
completely disagree with that, because a teacher in India today is worth their weight in many times their weight in gold, and because of if you have good teachers, people can learn how to think, and this is really where I feel we need to be building on. If you're passionate about teaching, I mean, do not even assume that it will be of a shrinking demand. I mean, it'll be, if anything, of a growing demand, especially because of AI. AI is going to become a tool for teachers. It can never replace a teacher.
Yeah.
Can I just quickly add a point? I guess
Yes,
I know a couple of colleagues of mine who were doing some good work in the field of research, and then gradually moved on to become educators, and they're teaching high school kids now, let's say biology, and they're so happy. They're so happy because with their learnings, with their foundation in the research, they've taken those concepts to the school kids, and the kids are so, again, exciting because of the way they are teaching. So a career in education is, again, something very exciting and always motivating. I still personally remember all my teachers through my foundation years who were so inspiring. And so yeah, I just wanted to add that.
very true, ma'am. This question for you, ma'am. My question to Smita, ma'am. If you were interested in biology, then going to the medical field was not wrong. But why didn't you choose to go to the medical field?
Okay. Because honestly speaking, as I said during the presentation, I would never... I have high regards for doctors. It's not that I don't like the profession. It's just that I, as a person, was very clear that I cannot stand the hospital environment. I cannot stand, let's say, someone suffering. And so how can I be a good doctor? That understanding was there. Getting into my brother, if I see, he's a doctor, he's a surgeon. But you have to see individual choices, your own likings, your own interest, your own, self. and thereby you make those decisions. And so that's precisely the reason why I decided not to write the medical test and follow my heart where I wanted to go.
Yes, around nature. And this is the next question. I have taken arts, but I'm interested in climate change science. What should I do to make this switch?
Chitu, you want to take it?
Yeah. No, I thought I'd answered that, but the question, I mean, is a very interesting one, and I think, you know, to bring a perspective from arts into climate change science would be also very valuable. But the way to do that, I would say, I would argue, would be to take some of these really very exciting courses that stitch your background from something that is perhaps not entirely, you know, say climate change oriented, to bridging you into climate change sciences. And these are programs that are offered on the Open University platforms. So there are many Open University platforms today that that are, you know, allow some people from different backgrounds to get themselves up to speed in a particular domain. And I think climate change has been hugely subscribed in this kind of a regime, where you come from a background that is not, you know, directly relevant to studying climate change, but you are opened up into that by these courses. So I would recommend these Open University courses. The Open University in the UK is one. There's Open University also in Hong Kong. There's another Open University program. These are, I think, two of the leading places which offer such bridging programs. Yeah, sorry for that long answer.
No, that was informative for them. The next question is, along till doing an MPhil in neuroscience, however, now it's highly difficult to get even a project assistant position in a research institute. What are the options to do research and set the ground for PhD work?
I think applying to PhD programs would be one direct way to do that. You know, an MPhil is quite an advanced degree in neuroscience, and applying to these research institutes across the country where there are many such, you know, PhD programs would be one way. I mean, but to prepare for that, one should really see if you can seek your own fellowships, which are offered by the CSIR and the Department of Biotechnology. You know, they offer these sort of fellowships after these exams, the CSIR exam or the DBT fellowship exams. So once you have those things in hand, you can literally approach any lab for joining up as a PhD student.
Okay. I'm in grade 12 and I want to do cognitive neuroscience. But is there a scope for this? People around me are a little scared because it's not that popular. But I want to try something different and a domain where I have a lot of potential.
Why not? Don't listen to people around you. Do what you really want to do. Cognitive neuroscience is a very, very exciting area. It has also opens up many frontiers. I mean, not only in research, but also in psychiatry and understanding, you know, dealing with various intellectual disabilities that could have, you know, important applications as therapists and also counselors.
I guess I would also like to add that the scope of this very field, as Chitu just mentioned, like, you know, the possible ways one can get into, the very scope is going to grow much, much larger. India itself is going to require so many people who are going to be in this space. So a very exciting field for sure.
Definitely. This is from Sampada Rashmi. Sir and ma'am, I think you've already shared. I'll just read the question. Can you please share your stories about your journeys from college to getting hired to your jobs? And can you also share good examples of good colleges for biochemistry? I think the second part you would like to answer, ma'am. Answer.
For biochemistry, I will say, there are sort of very good colleges for biochemistry across the country. There's in Bangalore itself, there's the Indian Institute of Science has a very, very good biochemistry program for the undergraduate level. So does St. Joseph's. And Bangalore University, the biochemistry program at the university is also very good. In Delhi, there are some really exceptionally good places like the Sri Visvesvaraya University College and some other colleges of the Delhi University as well. Biochemistry is so broad. I mean, Calcutta has always been famous for biochemistry. And Smita says there's a publication on our India Bioscience website, which has more details, more specific details. Yeah.
A student, Mayuk Jain, wants to know, is science easy or tough to learn?
Very easy. If I can do it, anybody can do it.
Okay. One moment, sir. I'll just check if any other questions.
I've just shared some links. Sorry, Anuja, I'm sharing a few links for the benefit of students. They can just go, save these links and listen to these podcasts, or they can download the book, Tisha, just for, much broader understanding of career and opportunities.
Surely, please share it with all our students.
Yeah.
And one question, I want to excel in physics and chemistry. So can you please tell me steps to achieve it?
You got to work hard.
Yes.
If you want to excel in anything, you have to work hard. But I think, I think what you're probably asking, how is it that you can do good science? And I think to do good science, you need to have an open mind. Have a genuine sense of curiosity, and just don't stop until you understand something from the first principles. To me, that will allow you to excel in any area of science, not just in chemistry and physics.
Very true. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, ma'am, for being with us today and guiding our students for a bright career. On this note, we would like to end this session. And I would like to thank you, ma'am. I would like to thank our participants and also our sponsors who made this happen. Our gold sponsors are AMC Education Institutions, Atria Institute of Technology, Insight IAS Bengaluru, and our silver sponsors are Sir M. Visvesvaraya Institute of Engineering, Hindustan Business School, KS Group of Institutions, Shaheen Group of Institutions, Bidar, Rajarajeshwari Group of Institutions, Ramaya University, Bengaluru. Our next session will be at 2:30, and we'll have with us Mr. Atik on how to crack UPSC exams. We'll be back at 2:30. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Bye. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thanks for joining, Smita.
Yeah. Bye, Jitu.
Bye.
Bye, Anuja. Thank you.
Bye. Our pleasure, ma'am.